B'shul Ha'av. You can say that coming from Eretz Yisrael today, or even more, coming from Eretz Yisrael last week, to say the least about anything, there's just a few things going on there. When leaving Eretz Yisrael, as someone who lives there, as someone who made Aliyah with his family, and to know, sorry, Safta. And to know the amount of life that is there, and what a great life is there, and to leave there just on a regular basis, there's nothing simple about doing that. But then to leave with knowing that multiple friends, multiple family friends, brothers of friends, guys who I learned with in yeshiva, my own brother is fighting inside Gaza, makes things no easier. In the beginning of the fighting, a boy, Michael Shemna from yeshiva, Shafier, lost his foot. A boy who sat behind me for a whole year, Balkai Shor, last week was killed. I never when I planned to come to America and speak about everything, I never thought I would have to speak about Balkai. But just 2 words about him. For the whole year that I was sitting in front of Balkai, I was convinced that he had a serious eye condition. His eyes were always this bloodshot red, always. And in Israel, it's common for high schoolers to volunteer for Magen David Adom, Hatzala. And then usually, after 12th grade, they stop volunteering and or go into the army, or go to yeshiva, or mechina, and they start building their Yiddishkeit, and they start learning, and that doesn't really leave a lot of time for volunteering. When Balkai came to yeshiva, unlike others, he would learn the whole day, and after a full day of learning, he would go to Jerusalem to do a shift of Magen David Adom, and then make it back to yeshiva to start learning the next morning, which would explain why his eyes were always red. And if that wasn't enough, that he was doing that while he was in yeshiva, after he went into the army, and he'd be 2 or 3 weeks in the army without sleep or not, so he would go home, say hello to his mother, and then go back to Jerusalem to do another double shift of mother. Those are the type of people that are defending Eretz Yisrael. Those are the type of soldiers that we're talking about. Now with the talk that there might be pulling out of Gaza right now, and the soldiers are leaving now, I was faced with a new challenge. How am I supposed to talk to my friends now? Boys who are 20 years old, 21, 22, some are older, some even younger, 19, maybe 18. How am I supposed to talk to my friends now after coming out of Gaza, after coming out of war, and what they've gone through, and what we hear about in the press and what we read about the Israeli child killers and the Israeli army and the terrible things that they've done and the families that they've destroyed, this I don't deny. The numbers that they report are probably true. But how am I supposed to tell it to my friend? Or why is a boy who's 20 years old, why does he have to go on with the rest of his life with the conscience that he possibly killed a family, or that possibly he had to shoot the missile, or he had to shoot when the father was standing in front of him with a gun and his child in the other hand? Why does a boy who's 20 years old have to go through that? 21, 22, the rest of his life with that on his conscience. And on top of that, the majority of the world's population to agree with those and call him a killer, a child killer. We just read Kinot Anicha Al Eile Ani Buchia. That's what I'm crying about today. These are guys who learned in yeshiva. These are guys who all they want to do is defend their country, and this is what they have to come back to. Now with all of this, and on top of that, Eyal Yifrach, Hashem Yikum Damo, my roommate, and what happened there. What am I supposed to feel? What am I supposed to think now? Going on in life, how am I supposed to deal with what just happened the past 2 months? Like I said, I had a brother who was in the army down south. So whenever he had the chance, he would send a few pictures from down south. One picture was a tank. So I said to him, listen, I'm 20 years old, I lived in Israel for 6 years, I've seen a tank before. Or he sends a picture of a tractor, a D9. I said, Eitan, I've seen a picture of a D9 before. He said, no. You're missing the picture. Look at that tank. That's an Israeli tank. Look on top of the tank. There's 4 heads popping out. That's David. He's from America. He came back to fight. That's Shlomi. He's 40 years old. He left his work. He's a lawyer. He left his work to come. That's Yitzchok. That's Yaakov. That's him. And look behind them. My friends say that we're entering Gaza now. But we're not entering Gaza. To enter Gaza, that means you have to be outside of something. Gaza is part of Eretz Yisrael. We're not entering anything. We're continuing. We're going in. That's what's in the picture. Sends me another picture of this ice cream truck looking thing. Instead of ice cream, there's a big shawarma in the middle. And there's a picture, and there's people handing out free shawarmas to all the soldiers. And he puts as a caption, Am Yisrael Chai. That's what's going on. Shafier is a yeshiva where boys come to learn for as long as they want to. And when they're done learning, they go into the army for as long as they want to. They come from all over the country, and they come with a will that, or an understanding, that the Torah that they're coming to learn is not to be a dafka, tamid chacham. They're not going to become a rabbi, they're not going to become a world-renowned speaker or an author, or so on and so forth. But that every job of Torah and everything that they learn helps Am Yisrael. And when they go into the army, and wherever they go into the army, whatever unit, and forever as long as they go, that's also for Am Yisrael. The Torah and the army this is for Am Yisrael, and this is for Am Yisrael. And they're willing to sacrifice maybe 6, 7, 8 years of their life before university, before starting out, having a real family life, because they know that's what's needed from them now. For that same reason, Eyal Yifrach came to Shafier. Eyal, I personally knew that he had a dream to go far in the army, to be in a special unit, to do great things. But he understood, like he once explained to me, that Eyal in the army, if Eyal doesn't go to yeshiva, there won't be an Eyal in the army. So for that, he chose to go to yeshiva. He chose to take a serious path, one where he knew he was going to have to fight every morning, to understand, to figure things out. And the first morning that Eyal came to yeshiva, or the first morning that he came to check out the yeshiva, let's start with that. I go up to him and I ask him, "What's your name? What are you doing here?" He said, I'm coming to check out the yeshiva. I'm thinking about learning here." So I asked him, "How long are you planning on coming for?" So he said, this was like a Sunday morning. He said, "Probably by tonight I'll probably leave." Comes next Shabbos and he's still there. And I ask him what he's doing. And he said, "I'm not ready to decide that this is where I'm going to make my home until I'm 100% sure this is what I want." So he spent the week. And that's who he was. Eyal Yifrach knew that if he wanted to go somewhere and if he wanted to be something and he wanted to get there, he knew what it took to get there and what he needed to do. His Rabbi explained that during the eulogies, that on the first day that Eyal came, so his Rav asked him, "Who are you? Where'd you come from?" So he said, "My name's Eyal Yifrach, but where I came from doesn't really matter." So he said, "Okay, but what did you learn in high school?" He said, "I didn't really learn in high school." "What do you mean?" Eyal did a thing called Shelef. Shelef, Shministim la'arei pituach. It's 12th graders who go to undeveloped communities in Israel, and they spend their 12th grade there. Instead of 12th grade, as I know, is a fun year. A year not much of learning and more of tiulim and touring and enjoying life before getting serious. But Eyal spent his 12th grade year in Bat Yam. In Bat Yam, if there's an undeveloped community that needs help, that's Bat Yam. He spent there, he learned in a school mixed with religious and non-religious boys and girls. And upon being there for about a month, he understood that when a non-religious boy had a bar mitzvah, there wasn't much of a bar mitzvah. His parents threw him a party, there was no much of a bar mitzvah there. So Eyal, being who he was, started the Bar Mitzvah Project. The Bar Mitzvah Project means that every boy, secular or not secular, religious or not religious, had a Bar Mitzvah. So Eyal Yifrach made sure that at least 20 or 30 older guys would go to the Bar Mitzvah and there would be serious dancing and there would be a Bar Mitzvah. Yafo, which is not far from Bat Yam, didn't have a youth movement for the religious youth. So Eyal went to Yafo and started a youth movement for the children of Yafo. That's what he did during his 12th grade year. So when he is asked, "Where were you in 12th grade? What would you learn in 12th grade?" he honestly said, I didn't really learn in 12th grade. "So what do you want to do here?" the rabbi asked him. He said, "I'm here to learn." For the first 2 weeks he didn't understand the thing. When I say he didn't understand the thing, I'm telling you honestly, he didn't understand the thing. You would see him sitting there in the Beit Midrash and he didn't understand the thing. Not Gemara, not much. But he sat there and he learned. To make a longer story short, that Thursday, before he was taken along with Gilad and Naftali, and I'm sorry, I didn't get to know Gilad and Naftali, Frankel and Shao. I was in a room with Eyal Yifrach. Gilad and Naftali were tzaddikim, and there's plenty of stories about them. Unfortunately, I didn't get to know, therefore I can only speak to you about Eyal Yifrach. That Thursday, Eyal came up behind his Rav Yaakov, slapped him on the back, looked him in the eyes and smiled and said, "Listen, I figured it all out. I understand. The whole shiur that you just gave, I understand everything." He asked him questions, he answered. He started giving the Rav questions back and forth. That Thursday night's history, where I begin, is Friday afternoon after that Thursday night. Friday afternoon, Shafier, we go to Shurim in Jerusalem from bigger Rabbanim. After one of the Shurim, I get a text message from my father. In the text message, which is like a police text message passed along throughout, explaining that Gilad and Naftali didn't get home that night, and that if anybody has any information, to report immediately to the police. Now I have only brothers, and if somebody doesn't come home at night, or someone doesn't show up for a few hours, besides for my mother, nobody's really freaking out. So honestly, when I first read the text message, I quickly closed it and started getting ready to go to get back to yeshiva for Shabbos. But then I started seeing people mingling around, whispering, something's going on. So I go up to my friend Uri and I asked him, "Maka, what's going on?" So he said, there's a rumor that there's a third. Third what? A third boy. What do you mean a third boy? He said, "Yeah, a third boy. You know the ones we're missing?" So I didn't realize that we were still missing. There's a third. Where is he from? Or who is he? He said, rumor has it it's from the yeshiva. So I said, who is he? So he said, listen, he's new, darkish, strong, you know? Yifrach. You're talking about Yifrach, Eyal Yifrach. He said, yeah, him. He said, he was in your room, no? A room in Shafier is family. In the room we have guys who, before the army, after the army, young, old. We do everything together. Birthdays are celebrated. Shabbatot, sometimes we go to somebody's house for Shabbat. Onik Shabbat. When you're learning the Beit Midrash and you look up for a second, out of 300 guys in the room, you could always picture, and you could always know where the guys in my room are sitting. Right now, I can picture right now where they're sitting right now in the Beit Midrash, their places. Coincidentally enough, we hitchhiked back to yeshiva. That was before everybody was making a big deal out of it. We get to yeshiva and then immediately they posted that there's going to be Tehillim at the yeshiva. I don't know about the people in this room, but after 20 years of life, thank God, the only people I've ever had to say Tehillim for is maybe a friend's friend, or the mother's friend's sister's son, so on. And maximum you say 1, 2 Tehillim, and even then it's 1, 2, let's go. Continue on with life. But suddenly the person that you're saying Tehillim is, the name in front of you is the guy who sleeps next to you, and the guy who slept next to you just two nights ago. The same guy that you were supposed to explain. We were just joking about them. He had just given me the biggest slap on the back that I was waiting to get back at him. He had just made me cough. That's the name I'm saying Tehillim for? I saw him less than 12 hours ago. How is that possible? Baby Josh fills up. Everybody comes in. It's Friday afternoon. Usually getting ready for Shabbat. Meanwhile, everyone's in the Beit Midrash. The Rabbi starts going Tehillim. 1, 2, 3 Tehillim, 4 Tehillim, 5 Tehillim. And I'm thinking to myself, this is coming from me, the one who's been spoiled with his whole life with barely even a family, a relative having to pass away. Here I am thinking, what's going on? And I'm thinking to myself, if this is what God's plan is, that's chalas. I got it. Hashem's plan, you're going to take 3 boys, you're going to pretend like they're captured, maybe they go missing, and everybody's going to come start saying Tehillim, everyone's going to start freaking out, we're going to remember that there's a God, that life is serious, and we're not living in our own life, and things are real. I understand, we got the message, now please bring the boys home. There's 3 mothers waiting, we'd like to learn with him in yeshiva. We got the idea. Enough. More Tehillim. 7, 8. I'm thinking to myself, I've read enough stories and Hasidic stories and the Rabbi and he davens, and right when he finishes davening for the miracle happens, and I'm thinking to myself, why not now? Why can't we have a story like this? Shabbat's in only 2 hours, 3 hours. This would be a perfect miracle. Everybody would understand that there's a God, everyone would understand that this is real, that we're not messing around. And Biduk, as I'm thinking to myself that we need a miracle, I look up for a second. I see my 2 friends. One of them with his hands in the air like he's scored a touchdown or whatever. The other one looking up to the sky and screaming, "Is a nis, is a nis." What a miracle. What a miracle. Could it possibly be that after just 20 years of life, only 2 years in yeshiva, Mikey Zivan caused a miracle with his Tehillim? My friend hands me a phone. On the phone, described as the most daring Israeli army's raid by one of the top counter-terrorist units. As they went into the village and they took out 3 terrorists, they brought back 3 boys, 2 boys. Nobody was injured, nobody was hurt. The story's over, it's been taken care of. They're on their way home right now to their respective families. And Eyal Yifrach was found in Petach Tikva on his way home. He got stuck there and he slept the night and he was making his way home. Story's over. Thinking to myself, we should start dancing, make sure there's a party, this Shabbat is going to be the best Shabbat ever. But I got a good education growing up, and I was told that when my father gives me something, so first you have to say thank you, and then you could start jumping up for joy. And the rabbi obviously didn't get the message, and he kept going on with the Tehillim. So I decided, if up until now I was having kavanot to find the 3 boys, now I'll have kavanot to say thank you for finding the 3 boys. So I started saying thank you. 20 minutes, but the Tehillim doesn't stop. Go to the back of the Beit Midrash, pretend to blow my nose. I look at my friend, the same one who had his hands up in the air, the same one who was screaming, "Is a nis." By the look on his face, could tell that whatever rumor we thought was true, and whatever boys that they thought they found, and whoever they thought they found in Petach Tikva, that the opposite was true. That Shabbat, we stayed up the whole night learning, followed by the same thing the following night. The Sunday morning, I'd go up to the Beit Midrash to start learning. See like half my friends there. I thought it was pretty clear that when there was like a situation like this, I thought guys would maybe jump out of bed and start learning. This is what we have to do. But nobody's there. I go downstairs to start looking. Go down more, go down. I get down to the office, start hearing screaming, phones off the hook. I go in to the conference room, see 30 guys sitting there, each one with a phone in his hand, coffee spilled on the table, food everywhere, someone's tripping over me while he's running out, papers flying. I grab my phone, I'm like, what's going on now? So he said, there's going to be a davening at the Kotel tonight. But not just any davening. There are times in Israel, there are a few times a year when the Kotel fills up. Sukkot, Slichot, Rosh Hashanah, the Kotel fills up. It's not the most uncommon thing. But he said, tonight, everybody's going to be there. When we're talking about everybody, we're talking about everyone from every type of Judaism. It was clear and calm and just understood by everybody, without even talking about it, that if not every Jew was there, secular, not secular, kippah, not kippah, black hat, not black hat, didn't matter. If not everyone was there, or not everyone felt that they needed to be there, or someone didn't know about it, then not only would that tefillah be maybe pathetic, for lack of a better word, but it wouldn't be a tefillah. And if we wanted to bring back the three boys, nothing would work besides for that. So we called everybody. Everyone was given a number to call of a different yeshiva, a different community, a different organization, the north, the south, to make sure that everyone got to the Kotel that night. If anyone had the unpleasurable experience of ever opening up an Israeli newspaper or ever a Jewish newspaper for that matter, would clearly understand that one of the few good things that the Jews happen to be very good at is disagreeing with each other, and that if there's one thing we don't like, that we like to do, is not agree with the other one, and sometimes we like to make that known very well. And when there's elections, we even up it a little bit, and we do a great job. I was given a number of a big player in the Haredi movement, calling from a place called Shafier, a religious Zionist organization, calling a top member in the Haredi movement. Like I said, elections not so far behind us. Nobody needs to be reminded of what went on and what was back and forth. So I call the number. He answers. I quickly say my name and where I'm coming from, hoping that he doesn't hear. Hoping just to get out that there's going to be a davening at the Kotel, and we'd like you to be there. He says to me, wait, what's your name? Where are you from? So I whisper, Mikey Zivan, Shafier. So, you're calling from Shafier? I said, yeah, yes. He starts yelling at me for 5 minutes straight to tell me that Rav Chaim Kanievsky, Rav Steinman, every Gadol Ador were there last night saying to him for the three boys. And that how, in his words, if we're not strong, then he can't be strong. And if the yeshiva doesn't hold up, then they're not going to hold up. And if we don't start organizing and getting on our feet, and if we're sitting around crying, it's not going to work. And we're all going to work. He said, right now, Am Yisrael chose you guys. Not you guys specifically, that you're Zionist, you're not Zionist. The fact that You took one of your boys, it's on you now. Am Yisrael needs you now. Not only will we be at the Kota, we're going to send buses. We're going to send buses from all our places. All these shivot will have buses to go. And if you need help getting buses from other people, call me and I'll make sure that there's buses from other people. Naturally, I looked at the caller ID just to make sure I had the right number. I'm looking at him. In shock, I didn't know. Hung up the phone. I went downstairs, told my friends that the Charedim are coming. Another friend walks in, Tel Aviv University is coming, Bar Ilan's coming. The people from the south are coming, the people from the north are coming. So on and so forth. That night at the Kotel, handing out Tehillim, standing in the front of the Kotel Square where the stairs are, where the shuk meets the stairs. I see everyone who's coming in. Guys who just got back from Thailand, Shtreimos, Kippot Sugot, black hats. It was like one weird family picture. Everyone walking down the stairs like that. And of course you have the random group of Chinese tourists that have to come down with their umbrellas and their cameras, and they don't understand what's going on, and you don't understand what's going on, and you don't know how to explain to them how to please keep moving. And they're taken back by the whole scene. I understand if they're taken back by the whole scene, then obviously there's something going on here that I should really understand what's going on here. Not only was the Kotel filled up that night, doesn't matter how many thousands of people there were there was no place to move. But the fact was that everyone got there. Everyone was comfortable there. It didn't really matter who was the one standing next to you, or the one standing behind you, the one standing in front of you. And whatever happened there at the Kotel that night was a little preview, or a little promo for what Am Yisrael was about to get ready for the days up until now. That happened there at the Kotel, followed by another such event in Tel Aviv and throughout the country. Tehillim said everywhere, tzedakah projects, women lighting candles, women who never lit candles before Shabbat, now lighting candles before Shabbat, asking how to do Hafoshul Chala, doing Hafoshul Chala for the three boys. Guys who never put on tefillin before, asking how to put on tefillin and where can he get a set of tefillin so he can put on every day, because that's what he wants to do. That's what he feels is necessary right now. Never put on tefillin, but there's something inside of him that screams, I need to put on tefillin now. Not only now, just for once, I want to put it on every day until the boys come home. Being the one who speaks English in yeshiva, and also I'm here tonight not because I was Eyal's best friend or close, we were in the room together, we were friends, but I'm here tonight before you because I speak English and I'm the one who can do this. There's much other people who are more fit to do something like this and can tell you a lot more about Eyal and what happened, but you're stuck with me for now. And they asked me to speak before the press, the foreign press, to talk about the yeshiva, to talk about Eyal, to talk about everything. Naturally not knowing what to say for myself or to say about the situation at all, I called a meeting within the room. Like I said before, the room is a family. And I go and I ask the room, what am I supposed to say before the press? If the whole world is about to hear what I have to say, what should I say? It should come from the room. It should come from the people who are the most close to him. Everyone says their idea, he says this, he says that. Another friend comes up to me, he says there's only one thing the world needs to know. And not the whole world needs to know, but the Jewish people need to know also. And when people try to do this to us, these Bnei Avla, these terrorists, and they try to do this to us, and they try and take away our ruach, or they try and break something, they try and harm the nation, because they understand when the nation is together, they stand no chance whatever they have to do. But when they do this, they get an opposite reaction. When you try and harm us in a way, and you take one of us, and you take three boys, one boy is enough, but three boys, this is the type of reaction that you get. Some sort of Israeli type reaction. When I say Israeli, I'm talking about everyone in this room. Everyone in this room is Israeli. The word Israeli comes from Israel. Israel is Yaakov's second name. Yaakov is Yitzchak's son. Yitzchak was the Abraham's son. Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. If you've heard of them. We all come from them. So when he was telling me that this is an Israeli reaction, I was thinking about everyone in this room. Everyone in this room was involved. And I know you guys felt it, because we felt you guys feeling it. And that's the way it is. So when these people take one of us, or two of us, or three of us, this is the type of reaction you get. It's built into the whole Jewish people, built into the family software, that when times like this come, we come together. Just like any other family, when things like this happen, they come together. No different, the Jewish people, in Israel or outside of Israel. That's what we said to the world. That Thursday, because we were in Eyal's room, so the yeshiva sent us to Eyal's parents, Iris and R Yifrach, to their house in Elad. Sitting with R Yifrach, Eyal's father, singing songs, and he has a smile on his face. We asked him what's going on. He said, I don't have any new news to tell you. If they knew what they were, they would find them. But I just got back from a meeting with Shimon Peres. And I was screaming at Shimon Peres, and I was telling him, Shimon, the whole world loves you. You're the face of politics for Israel, the Israel that the world wants us to be. Start screaming out. Why don't you scream? You're not doing anything. So Shimon Peres looked at him and said, listen, if you want me to scream, I can scream. But at the end of the day, you guys are Jews. And the world doesn't really care right now. He said, but I will tell you one thing. This is coming from Shimon Peres. For as long as I've been around, and for as long as Shimon Peres has been around, there's been Israeli politics, and for as long as there's been Israeli politics, there's been Shimon Peres. He said, for as long as I've been around, I've never seen anything like this. For as long as I've been around, when we started this nation, when we started the state, not the 6 Day War, not the Yom Kippur War, there hasn't been a time like this. There hasn't been energy like this in the streets. Coming from Shimon Peres. We go into the kitchen and we speak with the mother, Iris. If anyone can imagine, or anyone tried to imagine, I stopped trying to imagine, because there's no one besides the mother who could really understand the kind of pain that the mother goes through. And we're talking about then, they hadn't yet found the bodies. We still believe that they were being tortured, and the worst happening. And here, 10 guys from yeshiva, 10 guys who've been spending the past year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years in yeshiva, learning emunah, learning faith, learning about Hashem. And here's this woman standing before us with this smile on her face, with this glow about her. On a side note, if anybody ever goes to Israel and they want an experience, just go to the Yifrach's house, stare at them for 2 seconds, and be on your way, because... And there she is, giving us the biggest shmuz of our lives, saying how, if this is what we're meant to be, if this is how it's supposed to be, then this is how it's going to be. As hard as it is, as difficult as it is, we're servants in His world, not the other way around. Hashem wants it to be this way, this is how it's going to be. She had just gotten back from the Geneva, the United Nations there. In Hebrew it's called the She called it the Shmum. We asked her how it was. And she says, when you're pleading for three boys who are coming back from week of learning Torah or education, And there's nothing more innocent than learning Torah and getting an education. In Torah, there's no money involved. If anything, you lose money. There's no honor involved, at least that young. There's nothing more you can ask for a 19-year-old, an 18-year-old to do with his life. And then, that Thursday night, to try and get home, to spend Shabbat with his family, to spend the Shabbat with his father, because it's his father's birthday. What more? How many 19-year-olds, how many 17, 16-year-old boys are like that in the world? Spend their weeks learning for no degree, for no honor, for no extra cash, and on the weekends, or on Thursday night, they're spending their Thursday night trying to get home just so they can spend the weekend with their family. How many people are like that? How many guys are like that in the world? And here she is, she's explaining, here I am, pleading for 3 of them. Just for someone to lift up their finger, just for someone to open their mouth, to send a tweet, to take a picture of themselves holding anything. Just for someone to say that they were actually kidnapped by terrorists, and that was too much to ask. She said, when you're pleading for them and all you see before you is a closed door, another closed door, a closed door, a closed door, a closed door. There's one door open. There's one door that she said that was always listening to me. She would later say during the whole Shiva that during this whole time she always felt that there was someone holding her up the whole way. That's coming from the mother. I understood then that if the mother of the child who was being tortured or the unknown was happening to him could understand that there was something going on here, and so can I. And if she's ready to take this upon herself, then so can I. But she left us with one more message before we left. She said, listen, throughout your life you could always ask yourself, Lama. You could always ask yourself, why my son? Why me? Why our community? The community in Elad already lost a few boys this summer, this week, this year. Why now? Why does this dafka have to happen to me? What did I do wrong? What did I mess up? What did I slip up? Who deserves that their son gets taken away from them? That she has to live every night and not know where he is? Why? She says there comes a point in life when you tell yourself, I'm going to stop asking myself why, I'm going to stop asking myself lama. And with one little dot, with one little chupchik between the lamed and the memhei, you turn that lama and you turn it into lema. You turn it into for what? For what is this happening to me? And for what was I chosen? For what was it my son? Not what did I do? Not why me and why my son? But why dafka my son? What am I supposed to do? What kind of thing is expected from me now to do? Not only what is expected from me to do, but how can I do what is expected from me to do to the highest level? So she says we got the message. We called upon people to take in Shabbat earlier. Women started doing hadlakat neot, hafashot chala. Guys putting on tefillin. Guys doing whatever they can. People from the north coming to the Kotel to daven at night. Calling at all hours. What can we do? What can we do? There were times in yeshiva that we had tons of programs going on, and we had flyers going out, and we had business cards made up with Tehillim for the soldiers, and we had this and we had that. And there was a time when the rabbi said, now is enough from the yeshiva. Now we have to let other people take other stuff, because there's so many people who are asking what to do that we had to make sure that there was what for other people to do. That was what's going on. I wish I could make a sad story happy or give it a Disney ending. But as we know, that wasn't the case. But for those who thought, like myself, that the minute that this story ends, that we got to such a peak and we got to such achdut and we got to such amazing places that thousands of years we haven't gotten to, And now that this story is going to be over, now the time is going to start. Now is the time to start throwing mud at each other, pointing fingers, the police this, they did that, they didn't do enough. Calling upon the Jews here, they didn't do enough, they didn't donate enough money, this and that. But it couldn't be more wrong. I couldn't be more wrong. Because after that, it only got stronger. I'm talking from someone who was there in Israel up until last week, unfortunately, to come here. But it only got stronger. The amount of people calling, the amount of people going down south, the amount of soldiers, miluimnikim, guys who are 40 years old, 30 years old, 35, calling up the army, asking them what they can do. When can they come in? I'm not talking about like the religious fanatics, the guys who love the army or want to do that. I'm talking about guys who have haven't been in the army for maybe 15, 10 years, but they're calling up, asking what they do. When can I come in? What's needed? Just anything. There were guys who were so excited, not just to go into the army, not to go down to Gaza, not to go to the fighting, just to take up a guard duty to fill someone else's position who went to Gaza. That's what they wanted to do. Let me do something. Let me be part of this. Help me be part of this. We speak to the soldiers when they went into Gaza. The amount of koach and the amount of ruach that they went in with. Everyone. You see the videos of the officers speaking to the soldiers before they go in. You go into the hospital in Soroka, where they keep the injured soldiers. I went into a room, there's two soldiers laying there. One of them is a Chayal Boded, one of them is from New York. And in between them is 100 bottles of drink. 100 bottles of Coke and Nasty, whatever. And if they're not there the rest of their lives, I don't know how they're going to finish it. Somebody walks into the room, puts down 10 pies of pizza. The next person that comes in brings her baked goods. I asked this family, they're standing there, where they're from. They're from Carmiel. Carmiel, for those who know, back and forth between Carmiel and Soroka hospitals, around 7 hours, 8 hours. But that's what they want to do. For two guys, they have no idea who they are. But it was worth the drive, 8 hours, to come visit these soldiers. Next person comes in, Moroccan Safta with her sphingim and their Moroccan doughy stuff, whatever they make, and it's delicious, but they're feeding me, and I don't know why they're feeding me, because I'm not a soldier. But she says, if you're coming to support the soldiers, then I have to support you. This non-religious woman, and she's telling me how it's a big halacha to support soldiers, and if you're supporting soldiers, then she has to support me, because that's also part of the halacha. And I'm looking at her like, what's going on? And she's looking at me like, what's going on? But that was what was going on. I called up Eyal Yifrach before I came to America and asked her what she wanted me to say. Being her the mother, being her the first one, the mother. I asked her what she wanted me to say. What should I say? And she said that there was one Yom Ha'atzmaut 2 years ago. Yom Ha'atzmaut where everybody does barbecues and like July 4th in Israel. And Eyal didn't show up to the barbecue, the family barbecue. So we were looking around and we were looking for him. We didn't know, we were calling him, we didn't know where he was. A family friend had just seen him though. They called they sent us a picture of him. He had brought in hundreds of his little Israeli flags, took his backpack to the heart of Tel Aviv. I was giving out Israeli flags by himself, saying Yom Ha'atzmaut Sameach to everyone who we saw. Said, I don't really know the people. This was her words. She said, I don't really know the people in America. I don't know what they're like. She said, but tell them that story. Because that's the kids we're talking about. Same thing goes for Gilad, same thing goes for Naphtali, same thing goes for every soldier who's there. And she said also one more thing. She said that it's very easy to feel helpless. Helpless, like you have nothing to do. And she said she was getting all these calls from people out of Israel and people in Israel who didn't know what to do, and they felt helpless because they couldn't be there. During the war, people weren't in the army, so they felt helpless. What's my job? But she said there are people whose job was to go and search for my sons. There are people whose job it is to go into Gaza and fight. There are people whose job it is to learn in yeshiva, and that's their job. And there's people, and everyone else who's not there, it's not like they weren't given a job. She said everyone has it upon themselves to take it upon themselves to fill in their job. She said, I was the mother of one of the boys who brought Am Yisrael together. That was my job. And there might be no harder job than that. But that doesn't mean that any other mother and every other father and every other kid and every other 19-year-old doesn't have a job here too. She said, tell them that everyone has a job. Everyone here has a job. Today is Tisha Bav, mourning the loss of the Beit HaMikdash. Some people say that there's even no reason to mourn these days because of the amount of achdut, the amount of togetherness that there is, and the fact that we have Israel and we have a strong army and a strong government. She said the only thing that we're really waiting for is the Beit HaMikdash to come down. She said that's all. Everything else is ready. But she said remind them, and she said also, Mickey, also know for yourself, that everyone has a job. And the amount of achdut there was in Israel, and the amount of achdut there was in America, if we don't continue with the way Eyal understood that where he needed to go to yeshiva, or he needed a certain place, and he was willing to take that risk and to take that uncomfortability, to push himself, to make himself, to get to that level. That's what's called upon from everyone in this room. That's what's called upon from everyone around the world. She said to take it upon themselves, to do what they need to do, to be that one more battery, to be that one more wheel. This whole thing called Am Yisrael Chai, everyone is a piece of Am Yisrael. She said Eyal lived that type of a life. Am Yisrael wasn't just a statement, it wasn't just a song that they learned in Gan and that they continued, and you hear like the birthright kids like chanting in the Kotel. But everyone is part of Am Yisrael, and everyone has a job to fulfill that, to be a part of that. There's nothing more to explain than those three words that Am Yisrael Chai. That we have something special. From the three boys was brought a lot. Not only do we find the tunnels or whatever security that was brought, but I can honestly say that from those three boys, from Eyal, Gilad, and Naphtali, the Jewish people came together. The Jewish people came together all over the world. But now it's on us that we were born in this generation. We were in this generation for a reason, to continue. To make sure that that doesn't end. Like she told us in the beginning, there's a lemma. There's a for what. For what was I born in this generation? That generation, Am Yisrael came together, and it's my responsibility to make sure that only continues. Bezrat Hashem, Amen.